Hey guys, I'm Jackie Brubaker, host of the Love You Even More podcast. I'm an author, performer, producer, and Emmy Award winner. Each week, I bring on inspiring people and experts in their field to have powerful, motivational, and enlightened conversations about relationships, self-development, and how you can love yourself even more. Follow us for daily updates at Love You Even More podcast and at Jackie Brubaker on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. For more on myself and the podcast, including ways that you can love yourself even more, go to loveyouevenmore.com. Welcome, James MacDonald, to the Love You Even More podcast. James is a serial entrepreneur. He is got his hands in a few things, but he is a very strong, determined man. And we are going to talk about persevering through hard things. And instead of looking at things as problems, James is going to talk to us about circumstances. And that's true. I was just saying to you right now, we encounter a lot of different circumstances in our lives, and it's what we do with those circumstances that create our futures. So James, if you'd like to give just a brief little introduction into who you are so our listeners can get to know you better, that would be awesome.
Sure. So my name is James. I'm 31 years old. I live here in Los Angeles, California, with my wife, wonderful woman. We're expecting our first in October, which is so exciting.
That's so exciting.
It is really awesome. We're having a little girl. Her name's going to be River. And I am just like, I'm smitten. I can't believe it. The other night we were laying here and I was talking to her and I got a little kick in the face. And yeah, it was just a really special experience, and I can't wait to meet her. So little history, I'd say we could probably start. I started my very first business, just to kind of enter into entrepreneurialism a little bit. I started my very first business with my brother and best friend at 14. It was a wedding entertainment company. We started that together and built that up into a pretty sizable company. Later, it expanded into party rental warehouses, et and from there, at 19, I was introduced to network marketing. From there, I was one of those weird guys that kind of made something of it, and I was introduced to the world of personal development. And I think that really struck a lot of chords and helped me grow as a man because, coming from an environment with very, very little to almost no parenting, to then, segueing into this career path that gives you so much more to deal with and to basically cope with your environment in a way that can make those big mountains of problems or circumstances, as I like to say, look like little speed bumps in the road. I really think that that's what made me fall in love with personal development, made me fall in love with network marketing, and made me fall in love with being an entrepreneur, being somebody who, is in charge of all of and has to take responsibility for all of life's circumstances. So.
Absolutely. Well, I understand that. I've had multiple companies, and it's a calling. You don't even question whether you're going to be an entrepreneur. You just are. And I love that you started your first business at 14. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we were talking a little bit before about a circumstance, maybe like an eye-opening moment that happened to you at 18 in high school. So right before you were about to start your second career. Tell me more about that. Maybe start from the beginning.
Sure. So throughout my high school career and as I came into young adulthood, I walked around with a pretty big chip on my shoulder. And the reason was because childhood and early adolescence wasn't very kind to me. I had a lot of really big challenges, and it put me in a position to believe that I could withstand and handle anything. And to this day, I still believe many of those things, but there was one piece of the puzzle that I hadn't really discovered yet, and it was, the awareness to be vulnerable, to become vulnerable, and to understand how that serves you. Additionally, to understand that every person has a capacity for circumstance, for pain, for joy, for happy, every different feeling in between, for gratitude. Everybody has a capacity. And I didn't really understand that. I would push my own limits as well as other people's limits, and I wasn't aware.
Mm.
So a buddy of mine, I'm not going to name any names because they're still out there, but a buddy of mine was going through, his parents were separating and filing for divorce, and it was a really hard experience for him. And we're in the locker room one day, and, I had found out that he was beginning to use injectable drugs as a method of coping. And myself being me, I just found that to be unacceptable. Absolutely like scum of the earth behavior. And I approached him and I said, where would you get the idea that that's a good thing? And, kind of chewed him out. And I led with, why are you so upset about your parents divorcing? Now you're going to get 2 birthdays and 2 Christmases and 2 people paying for your college tuition. You're going to get 2 separate households with two separate things of clothing. People are going to be paying for your car. Your phone bill is going to be taken care of. What do you have to worry about? And he turned and he said, hey, we can't all be you, James. And it wasn't the words that he said, it was how he said it. Right. And that it stopped me cold. I had no response. And I didn't know where to go internally next. But it stopped me dead in my tracks, and it made me think about, oh man, yeah, I'm the asshole in this situation. Like, pain. He's going through a painful situation, and here I am barking that it could be worse, which is true. But to the same point, it made me realize that everybody has a specific capacity for pain. And it put me in the space of awareness that nobody's problems or circumstances or situations in life or experiences, whether they be positive or negative, are more significant than anybody else's, right? That's how we can come together and relate to one another instead of try and compare one to the other. And coming to that level of awareness at 18 gave me a really big insight on how to work with people. And it set me up for a really amazing experience with thousands of people. So that was the in a nutshell story that gave me the awareness I have today.
Yeah, no, it's always, interesting as we're like going into like the beginnings of young adulthood or like very late adolescence. Cause I think that we're sort of in an adolescence even up until like early 20s, depending on the person and the circumstance and, what they're going through. There are people who are still living in adolescence and they're well into their 30s. So, it's a matter of looking at these moments that life gives you and being like, oh, wow. And I love that your moment was, oh my gosh, no one's, people aren't thinking the same way I'm thinking. And we can't all be you, James, is to me, when I first heard you say that, I was like, oh, there's so many different ways this could be taken. Like there's so many different, angles to this. And what do you think the main angle that really struck you was when he said that?
Well, because I knew he was such a close friend and we had helped each other through a lot of stuff, I knew that his aim was just to get me to stop.
Mm.
It wasn't to make me feel badly. It wasn't to make me feel any which way. It was just to kind of get me to stop, because I don't think that he was in an emotional space to deal with reprimanding.
Absolutely. No, clearly, if you're doing stuff like that. But the thing is, it's like, I think all of us are so guilty of that at any age. We're just all like, especially with the people we love the most.
Yeah.
We
Oh, yeah.
want them to be their best. I am still working on this, right? Because I want to be everyone's cheerleader. I want them to excel. I want them to be the very best that they can be. And sometimes that just doesn't happen. And sometimes their capacity for whatever it is going to be is that's it, and you have to be the one to accept it. But I love that this was when it sounds like the first time you really started getting self-awareness. Um, let's talk about self-awareness and what you've learned about it, because I am sure you've learned quite a bit since.
Yeah. So, when I joined in network marketing and started taking a lot of personal development courses and sought out a lot of personal coaching, I ran into a guy. Um, I am not 100% sure if he's still practicing. It has been years. But his name was Dr. John Barnum, and his presence was haunting. When I tell you the experience that I had sitting with him, um, was otherworldly and sometimes not in a great way. Uh, However, some of the context that he left me with really, it really focused in on self-awareness, and it taught me how to communicate, not just with people, but like with my significant other, with Shannon. And I have a lot of gratitude for the lessons that I learned with Doc Barnum. But basically what he said was, look, everybody has a mental roadmap, right? And everybody thinks that their mental roadmap is the right one. So when you're talking to your significant other or a friend or an affiliate or business partner or whatever, and you're saying, look at my map is the right one. Mm-hmm. And they're going, no, fucking mine's the right one, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
If you can just understand that everybody has their own map, you can walk alongside one another as opposed to trying to resist each other's paths. And that opened up a big old can of worms. And you know, it taught me to slow down. And he pinpointed this when he was having a conversation with me. I have a big thirst for knowledge, and I love to learn. But sometimes when people aren't explaining things fast enough, as a younger man, I would try to get to the point faster, you know?
Right. Feels accurate. Yes.
like just get to the fucking point. What's the deal? And finally he said, hey man, you can never fully listen to somebody if you can't hear the space between their words. And I was like, that's interesting. And he goes, the reason that you miss a lot of the points and the reason that you make it 99% of the way in life and not 100% is because you're so busy thinking about how you want to respond before the person or someone in front of you has even finished their sentence that you haven't heard them all the way. Mm-hmm.
And then your head exploded.
And then my 21-year-old head just went boom. And it was eye-opening. And to this day, it's something that I have to actively practice. A couple weeks ago, Shannon and I are laying in bed, and she was explaining some issues she was experiencing, and as the male figure in the relationship, it is always in my wheelhouse, right, to want to solve the problem, immediately fix it, immediately give the solution. And over the course of our relationship, I've really had to hone that in and work on my skills just in that specific realm. And I found myself being so unbearably honest. We were laying in bed and Shannon was talking to me about some issues she was going through. And in my head, it seemed like what she was going through was very simplistically, solved.
Yeah.
However, I'm sitting there and I'm listening and I'm listening and I'm listening. And I'm literally starting to sweat because I'm having to withhold the solution.
Yeah.
Like it's right here. It was right fucking here. The top of my throat. The solution was about to just spit its way out. I managed to swallow it down. And I said, after she finished, completely finished what she had to say.
Yeah.
I said, do you feel better? And she said, yeah. And I said, okay, I want to let you know that it is taking me every ounce of my fibrous being to not vomit the solution onto you. And she was like, wow, thank you for being that honest. And I was like, I was having trouble. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm full blown breaking a sweat here. And she's like, seriously, it's that bad? I was like, I love and care about you so much that I never want you to feel pain. I never want you to suffer. I just want you to feel good all the time. And so if I have a solution, I want to hand it to you with a golden bow on it and just say, here you go. But I know that that's not always what you need. And yeah, she was kind of like in shock. And I was sitting there dumbfounded, like, wow, did I just say that out loud? I didn't give her the solution, but I wanted to. Like,
So she never asked for the solution.
she did. She did ask for the. It took her a minute. She was like, okay. And it was dark, right? So this is before bed. And I could hear, like, I could physically hear her rolling her eyes, you know? It was awesome. And she said, okay. She said, okay. She said, I'm in a place to hear your solutions. And I was like, are you sure? And she said, yes. I said, rattled off. Boom, 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 boom. She was like, oh, yeah, I guess that's pretty simple. And I was like, simpler it is, better it's going to work.
I'd be interested to know if she's going to take your advice or if she's going to do it her way.
I feel like because it's been some time since then. I feel like it was, sorry, water. I feel like it was a nice combination of both.
Uh-huh.
The next day I watched her, implement some of these things that I had suggested. And of course, a lot of pride. And I was, prideful that she used my solution and prideful that, my wife was taking action to solve these problems. And, but obviously she did it in her own tone, her own way, at her own pace. So it was, I feel like, a combination of the two. She's an expert listener. So.
Well, I love this example because it shows that not only are you obviously using self-restraint and yet so badly you want to say the answer. I understand you so deeply because I'm that way too. But you are holding in and having self-restraint to let her do what she needs to do too. Because at the end of the day, with self-awareness, we can be self-aware for ourselves and maybe we're right about others. We could be right. And yet I love this saying. My girlfriend says this all the time, that both things can be true. Your solution can be true and her solution can be true as well. And at the end of the day, we're just in our own bodies making, our own lessons and having, these circumstances happen to us. And it's what we do with it that helps us evolve as people. So I love that you did that. And oh man, I so feel you so deeply. I just be like, yes. My boyfriend just said to me before we got on this podcast, he was like, we're both reading a Gottman book together, Dr. Gottman, who, of course, if you don't know who this is, everybody should go read him. And he's actually, my boyfriend's incredibly good at not giving advice. Like the best I've ever had where he's like, I understand. Like I'll say something, I'll be like, I understand. And he's like, would you like my perspective on this? Or did you just want to talk? I'm like, oh, you're so good at this. I'm like, I hope I'm that good because I don't think I'm as good as he is. So I'm more like, here's the advice.
Yeah. I remember actually meeting your boyfriend and I feel like he has important things to say.
He's very smart. Yes.
I feel like he has a lot of really important things to say. And I think that he's very good at maybe finding the time to say them. No. Just from the brief couple hours we spent sitting next to one another at that dinner. It seems like he has a lot of really powerful things to say. And, he's calculating the right time to say it, which I appreciate a lot.
He's very considerate. He's very considerate of others and their time and their space and all of it. So thank you. I will let him know.
Yeah, you bet.
So in moving forward, what tools are you just dying to let people know about how they can have better self-awareness?
Okay. So the one tool that I can always refer back to is percentages. Ooh. Now this sounds strange, but and it takes this practice. It takes repetition, so much repetition. But okay, 0% of your life is when you are born, right? 100% of your life is when you die.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one thing we don't know is when the 100% comes. So when circumstances come upon you, you have to decide. And from a bird's eye view, you have to decide how much of this circumstance, how much percentage do I want to give this circumstance of my life, feeling poorly about it, acting poorly about it, right? And designate a percentage. Because again, we don't know when 100% is coming. And that's the challenge. So you have to subtract yourself from the circumstance emotionally and physically. And you need to look at what the circumstance for what it is and decide what percentage of my day, what percentage of my life do I want to give to feeling poorly about these things. And putting that into application is not always easy. In the beginning, you're going to say, I want to give it 2 hours, and you end up giving it the whole day, but over the course of years, you begin to narrow down the percentages to where it's almost nothing. When something comes at you, it's no longer something that you allow to manipulate your emotions throughout the entire day.
Right.
So the law of percentages, that's a super powerful tool. Yeah, very cool. I learned that one of my really, really great business mentors, his best friend, spiritual healer, his name's Avi, and just amazing guy. Actually, when Shannon and I got engaged, I had him come over and, talk about what it meant to find happiness as a couple and what it meant to, it was so cool. Such a cool experience.
So cool.
Yeah.
Avi.
Yeah. So, Shannon, I remember Shannon had a pretty in-depth conversation with him while we were at the kitchen table, and it was just great. Avi's a great guy. He's overcome a lot, and I can't say enough good things.
Too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's a little more old school. He's very, very tough Israeli guy. But he's extremely joyous. Like, just being in his presence, he radiates happiness. So you can't help but feel like elevated in his presence. It's pretty cool.
Amazing.
So law percentages, that's for sure. And then if I had to really narrow down some tools that people can apply every day, always actively seek personal development. Always actively seek it. You can't develop yourself enough. And when you stop doing that, everything in life gets stagnant. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like you're having so many problems or circumstances, as we like to call them, make their way into your path. So I call it God, but so many people call it the universe or whatever your belief space is. I say that when God puts obstacles in your way, right, you've made a decision that you want something. I want something in this life. This is what I envision. And God's going to say, okay, you really want that, right? And you're going to go, and he's going to put a bunch of stuff in your way. He's going to put a bunch of obstacles in your way to help you figure out if you really want that. You come out on the other side of those obstacles still wanting it and still determined. He has no choice but to put it into your path. So when those obstacles come, personal development helps you to identify those mountains, right, as little speed bumps in your life. And you have the tools and the bandwidth, the mental bandwidth to handle it at any given time. And it gives you the ability, personal development gave me the ability to respond instead of react.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because most of the time, when we're reacting to something, we're still in like a heightened nervous system state. And we're not really thinking clearly. We're just reacting to that emotion. So I love that. And that's so true. It's funny. I mean, I guess this is like, the secret or
Sure.
The law of attraction quite literally is, yeah, you want something, you put it out there, and then you basically have to kind of wait for it to come to you. But I really do think, especially for the big things that we want, I think that we are able to have them. It's just a matter of going through the obstacles, like you were just saying, and what you're learning from them, because it's changing you, hopefully for the best, right? You're learning and you're overcoming. And once you finally get to the place where you get the goal, I've noticed that it never quite looks the way you think it's going to look. And by the time I finally get the goal, I'm on a different goal in the future. So I'm like, oh, this is nice. This is great. Okay. Well, my mind's kind of like in the future anyway, still. So that's something I'm still kind of working on. Do you feel that way?
Um, you know, in a way, yes. But for the most part, no. And
Good. That's good.
so here's why. I have learned throughout my business career that it is paramount for you to learn how to reverse engineer your goal. So a lot of people, when they enter into the entrepreneurial space, they're unaware of how to create a schedule for themselves. They're unaware of the tasks that are affiliated with that schedule. And many times they fail early because they haven't created that reverse engineering. So how I break that down is like this. So let's make it something super fundamentally like rudimentary, like your rent. Let's say that your rent is, oh God, I wish, but let's say your rent was $2,000, right?
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, I know that it's $66.6 a day in order for me to make $2,000 for 30 days straight in order to make $2,000. Right. So if I reverse engineer my goal down from weeks, days, et cetera, down to a finite point, then I know this is the goal for the day.
Mm-hmm.
How can I surpass it? Whether it be dollars or people or listens or, to hit a specific goal, having the bandwidth to reverse engineer and then create a strategy and a tactic that will help you to achieve that goal. This helps you concentrate on the day by day. So then once you've accomplished the goal, it's kind of like what you experience where you're already thinking about what's next. Because you spent so much time perfecting the day-to-day fundamentals that by the time you hit the goal, it doesn't even phase you. You're already in a different headspace. You're already on to the next biggest part.
Right.
But I think it's also very important that when you do achieve goals, that you celebrate them.
Absolutely. Yes. Very important to celebrate. I've been implementing that into my world. People, please celebrate your goals. Even if it's just little, like it doesn't have to be a big, huge thing. It could just be a little thing, just a sweet little, treat that you get yourself or, literally by like, go get a donut or something. I don't know, like something.
So, I learned this, again, from Avi. When you genuinely celebrate something, first is to give thanks, right? Second is to recognize that you did it. And third is to say what's next, to speak what's next. But it has to be audible. It can't be like this internal thing, right? Because motion creates emotion, as Tony Robbins says. So if you have this internal dialogue, it's not as powerful. But if you express it outwardly, like, for example, I know that there are people in the world that just have a hard time getting out of bed, have those moments and those times and those days where they just are having so much trouble getting out of bed. But if they are willing to just put their feet on the ground and then say, thank God, outwardly, thank God I did it. I'm going to brush my teeth. Even those small things, right, that we all every day take for granted, those things, if you can learn to celebrate those things, you feel the least likely to celebrate. When you get to the big stuff, game over. It's a party.
So true. I love that. I love being audible about things. It's very important.
So important.
Thank you so much. You guys can reach James. All of his links will be in the show notes. please go check him out. He's got a wealth of knowledge and all kinds of things. Thank you so much for being here, James.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Remember, sharing is caring. Make sure to rate the podcast and leave a review. We really rely on this to help get the podcast out there.